you mentioned weight cutting there. It's obviously a conversation and a topic that's never really going to go away. I'm just wondering, in general, what do you think of kind of, are there alternatives to the current system that you'd like to see in place, whether that's more weight classes or something else? Or do you think that kind of what we have at the moment is a necessary evil and kind of just part of the process of fighting?
It's going to get better, and the main reason why I think it's going to get better is that the current wave of guys coming up in their late teens, they're now competing in IMAF, the International MMA Federation. So for the first time, I guess they're, you know, it's going on a couple of years now, but we have a real, a genuine athlete pathway for amateurs to be able to represent their country in national, European, and world championships. They weigh in the same day, 4 days in a row for those tournaments. So they're getting more familiar with training and competing at their healthy walking weight. And those athletes now, we're starting to see them come into their early 20s and creep over into professional fighting, whereas our sport is kind of weird that the professional element of it was the first thing to come along. And then 20 years later, people start saying, actually, we should do something for the amateurs. So I think the wave of amateurs coming through, a great example would be Kieran Clark, who's fighting on this card. Kieran Clark did 30 odd amateur fights with IMAF. So when he crossed over to pro, he never leaves himself more than a couple of kilos over his competitive weight and can do it very comfortably in 2 or 3 days, you know, skip a few muffins and he's basically on weight. So kind of the old mentality of trying to cut 20 pounds in 24 hours is thankfully, I believe, on the way out. These new wave guys are not cutting that weight. They're going into the bouts full of energy, full of beans. And the guys are saying, you know what, just being a couple of kilos heavier than somebody is not going to be enough if I don't have the gas tank to go with it.
And so that's interesting. So you could see more people competing more kind of true to weight rather than crashing down to kind of, you know, get that advantage.
Yes.
More so than...
I do have other, I think, very simple solutions to it that, like, for example, let's say with the UFC, they have random drug testing. Why not stick a scales in your bag when you're doing the random drug testing and stick them on the scales? And if you were, let's say, 3 times, you were more than 10% of your competitive weight, you go up a weight class, you know, and then everybody would just be going up a few weight classes. And even for organizations that don't have something like USADA, you could have in every major city, let's say an agreed upon center you go to once a month to step on the scales. Like we have the, let's say the Amateur Wrestling Association in Ireland. It's recognized by Sport Ireland. It's a long-standing organization. Why not have it that all Irish-based fighters have to go there and they step on the scales? And again, you're over 10% of your competitive body weight, go up a weight class. So there is, I believe, easy-ish solutions to this.
And just kind of another potential kind of like blunt, easy to put in solution could be something like more weight divisions. Would you in favor of something like a 165 division across promotions?
Well, I definitely think there should be, like, what happened there goes 25, 35, 45, 55, 70. So you're putting a bigger weight gap in where most men on the planet fall between. There's not too many men 125 and not too many men 265, but most of us are between 150 and say 180. And yet that's only got 2 weight classes. That doesn't make sense. So it should be every 10 pounds, you know, 25 to 265, well, let's say 205, do it every 10 pounds up the way. I wouldn't like to see it every 5 pounds or every 3 pounds like boxing. I'm not too sure the weight class is there. I think it'd be good just every 10 pounds. Even with that, you're still going to have the odd person that wants to do massive weight cuts. So I think it's going to be solved long-term by IMAF, because all of the best fighters are going to be coming through IMAF. Within about 5 or 10 years' time, there'll be no major promotion that doesn't have a champion that was originally an IMAF champion. We're seeing that already. And they will have come with the mentality of, let's stay close to competitive weight. Well, I'm able to make my competitive weight 4 days in a row on the amateur scene. You know, let's stick with that. And so I think generationally, it'll be solved.